Yo, what's poppin' guys, Sizzyl here. Today I'm going to be talking about Poker Night 2, which is the sequel to Poker Night The Inventory, which is a game I've already done a review on. For those of you that haven't watched that review, it'll be linked below, but if you don't want to go watch that review right now, I'll go give a rundown of what the first game is all about. Poker Night The Inventory, or just Poker Night 1 I suppose, was just a game where you played poker against 4 AI opponents that were all video game characters that were licensed for you to play against, and as you played poker against them, you could win some items that you could then use in Team Fortress 2, like actual hats and stuff usable in TF2, and they would also talk to each other and have some interactions here and there, and have some decent dialogue if you kind of knew who the characters were. The problem with that game was, first off, the 4 characters they chose are characters that pretty much nobody knows, and second off, that a lot of the interactions started repeating after only an hour or 2 of playing the game, along with just the whole thing being pretty boring and lackluster all around. The second game noticed that and improved on literally every aspect. With Poker Night 2 around, I can't think of a single reason to even consider playing Poker Night 1 outside of getting the specific items that game would give you for playing it in TF2. The first and most notable change in Poker Night 2 are the characters they have in this game instead. In the first game, they had a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of characters you hadn't really heard of, who weren't super charismatic in any way, and unless you knew them beforehand, a lot of their dialogue wasn't as funny or didn't make a whole lot of sense. In Poker Night 2, we have Samson from the Venture Bros, pretty popular series, very popular voice actor. We have Ashley Williams from Evil Dead. We have Claptrap from Borderlands 2, award-winning, very, very popular series. And then we have Sam from the Sam & Max series, along with the dealer, someone not directly involved with the game, but somebody involved in a lot of the interactions, being GLaDOS from Portal, which is a really, really neat addition. Now, it wouldn't really matter if these characters were any better if they didn't also have way more interactions. I actually played this game for about 10 to 11 hours. I played it all the way through to completion. I unlocked absolutely everything, kind of did everything that was available, and even by the 10 to 11 hour mark, I only had a few interactions that I had noticed were repeat interactions, which when you compare to the original game where after 1 hour I was noticing repeat voice lines, is a drastically positive change, and it makes the game a lot more interesting. On top of that, this game got a huge upgrade in the music department. The original game had some music that kind of fit the environment and you could really listen to without complaining, but it wasn't anything special, wasn't anything super great, and definitely wasn't anything that I wanted to listen to after playing the game. Poker Night 2, on the other hand, has a super calm, relaxing, jazzy soundtrack that really kind of gets you into the poker playing environment, where you're just super calm, relaxed, having a good time. And it also definitely helped that those jazzy tunes were based off of songs from the original games. So songs from TF2, songs from Portal, songs from Borderlands, and things like that. On top of significantly better music, this game also had significantly better visuals. It brought back the customization from the original game, where you could change the deck of cards you're using, the design on the chips, the look of the table. But it also added in a feature where if you had all of the pieces of one set active, it would change the entire background scenery and make it almost completely different. Now, a lot of the same core features were still there, like the bar would still be the same place, the table would still be at the same place, the characters would generally go to the same places after they get eliminated from that round. But visually it was very, very distinct, and each one of those locations had custom interactions and animations that were specific to those zones, and a lot of them also had environmental sound effects and the like, which also helped further build the atmosphere they were going for. On top of that, the visuals didn't have any problems, which should be standard for most games, but for whatever reason, the first Poker Night game had some shading issues on one of the 4 characters throughout the entire game on high settings. This game did not have that problem on high settings, and for the 1 minute I tested low settings, they seem to work as well. So that's definitely a plus, but one of the larger things that this game changed that I didn't think I would like as much as I did were the quality of life improvements to just playing poker. They added a bunch of very small but very nice additions, such as being able to skip a hand whenever you folded and stopped playing for the round, such as being able to view your cards after you were out of a round just to see how they would have done even though you weren't playing anymore, being able to spectate the AI after a game ends to kind of see how the round would have played out. And also, whenever you go all in, whenever all the cards are revealed, it showed you the probability that you had of winning that hand, which I found extremely useful as it actually kind of taught me a bit about playing poker. And being able to see the probabilities of winning and kind of the way the cards would work after I played my hand was super useful in understanding what I could do better, what I was doing wrong, and kind of how to improve as a player. I'm sure there's probably a bunch of other quality of life things they changed, but those were the main ones I noticed, and they were very, very nice additions to this game that really did help keep me playing it for a lot longer. And then there's the in-game item rewards you would get in other games. So in this game, every item you would get not only gives you an item in TF2, it also gives you an item in Borderlands 2, which is super neat. And the way that you get the items also made a lot more sense and made you a lot more involved. In the first game, in order to get an item, the item would just randomly show up at the table, and if you beat the guy that had the item, even if you didn't win the round, you would just get the item. Versus in the second game, you kind of have missions you have to complete, right? So like win by going all in, or just win the round or something like that. A bunch of different missions, bunch of different things to do. And if you complete all those things, then in the next game going forward until you win the item, one of the characters would bring in an item. And if you won the round, not if you beat the guy, but if you won the entire round and beat the rest of the table, then you would win the item, which definitely made me a lot more involved. And he actually gave me a reason to try and win in the game rather than target a specific player just to beat them, regardless of how it would affect me winning the round. Overall, all of these different improvements, whether they be quality of life, music, graphics, or what have you, really led me to having a much better overall experience and actually had me really enjoying this game, despite expecting not to because the first game left such a sour taste in my mouth. Overall, I would actually recommend this to pretty much anyone that can get their hands on it. I had a really fun time playing this game. It was a very relaxing experience. The only real thing of note is since it was delisted from Steam because the company that made the game went bankrupt, there's no cloud saves, which I found out the hard way, and it's why you might have noticed that my footage is a little bit lacking in variety, and that's because I lost all my save data, because I normally don't have to back it up when it comes to Steam. The reason I mention that at the end is because it's not really a fault of the game. It's more of the platform it happens to be available on and the circumstances around the company that made it. As an actual game though, I'd recommend this to pretty much anyone that just wants to have a chill time and maybe learn how to play poker. If they already play poker, maybe just have a chill time playing poker while hearing some quirky video game and show character interactions. Overall, despite the simplicity of this game, I had a great time through and through, and I will therefore have to give this game the rating 4 out of 5.